ladies. Trying a new bit of software today, so hoping it's going to work to record this video. Just wanted to say officially hello, and I've seen most of you now either at the 6 o'clock session or the 9:15, and I'll get to meet a few more of you this evening as well. So welcome aboard. Today obviously marks the first session that you've had in terms of your exercise, your fitness, and as most of you are here to lose weight, two really important aspects of the program are obviously the exercise and the nutrition. Now, because we're trying to tip the balance for you essentially of getting you to move more so that you're burning more energy and eat less in terms of calories, but eat more in terms of nutrition, in terms of health value, in order to shift some of the weight if you're carrying excess weight at the moment. So your first exercise session is a portion of that, but I want to really stress and bring home to you right from the start how key your nutrition is to the success of your 8 weeks. Our nutrition is about 70 to 80% of our diet. If we believe that we can eat rubbish and just burn it off through exercise, we are very much mistaken. So do not think that for a second. I used to do Zumba many years ago actually, and the instructor used to tell the ladies in the class that they had burned off excess of 1,000 calories in a session. And I would see these poor ladies who would work their butts off in the Zumba class, then go home and have fish and chips or whatever and think that the weight was going to come off. It doesn't, okay? So we are using the smartest form of exercise we can. And it's really important that you're moving as much as you can in between sessions too. So little things that you've heard again and again, like taking the stairs instead of the lift, parking the furthest spot when you go shopping so that you're walking more, getting up from your desk, walking around, doing housework, all of that extra activity you can get in between sessions will make a difference, believe me. But the biggest component that will make a difference for you is your nutrition. Now, I hope you've read the Paleo Primer book that we've given you, the Fitter Food book. It's really crucial that you read the first section of that so that you understand the rationale behind the changes we're wanting you to make. And if you haven't, please do. It's really important that you do. By all means, use the recipes in there if you wish to. A lot of the ladies absolutely love them, so feel free to use them. If not, just take the principles and apply them to your own recipes that you want to use. There's just a couple of bits I wanted to go over in the book before we start, so that we're 100% on the same page and there's no confusion later on. There's a couple of bits in the book that, from the research I've done and the other courses I've followed in conjunction with reading the book, or in addition to reading the book, I'm Precision Nutrition qualified, and the Precision Nutrition course that I've completed just has a slight anomaly to some of the points covered in the book, and I want to get those clear from the start because I don't want to give you misinformation. So the Paleo Primer book is very heavy and very much a big advocate of saturated fats. And I do want to say that saturated fats are fine, absolutely fine. In terms of saturated fats that you find naturally in your diet, such as butter, coconut oil, that kind of saturated fat, not a problem at all. They are a little bit heavier and advocate the use of it a little bit more than I consider to be healthy. So we have butter sitting over there I use it every day. We have coconut oil in the cupboard. I use it for cooking most days. I'm not saying shy away from saturated fat at all. What I am saying is use it where needed in sensible amounts. Don't go chucking half a block of, because butter is so tasty. Don't go chucking half a block of butter in with your veggies when you're, so that your meal is swimming in butter. Only because while it is absolutely fine to eat, it is also extremely calorific, and we're trying to create a bit of a calorie deficit here. And if your vegetables are swimming in butter, that isn't going to help the cause. If your vegetables have a teaspoon of butter melted over them, that is absolutely fine. So it's just getting the proportion right. The other thing that I do believe from the Precision Nutrition course that I've completed, we need a balance. We need a balance of polyunsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats, and saturated fats. And the way that the Paleo Primer guys accentuate all the time on the saturated fats mean that we can get a bit of a shift in the wrong direction. So we naturally get quite a lot of saturated fat in our diets anyway. So what we really want to be looking to up is things like olive oil, extra olive oil, avocados, fatty fish. Those are the type of fats we want to include, because most of the time those are things that we naturally, possibly at the moment, don't have in our diet. So absolutely use saturated fat, especially for cooking at high temperatures. You can also use avocado oil, which again is very safe at high temperatures. Do not please cook at high temperatures with extra virgin olive oil. It's not safe. It turns to a trans fat, which is very unhealthy for the body. You can use olive oil, that has a relatively good smoking point, but the only oils I cook with at high temperature are butter, coconut oil, and avocado oil. And I switch and match them around. I'm talking about that balance again. I don't cook in butter all the time. I don't cook in coconut oil all the time. I use avocado oil just as much as the other two. Okay, so just consider, there's nothing wrong with saturated fat. And in terms of, the myths about it causing high cholesterol levels and heart disease and all things like that, sugar is a lot more our enemy than saturated fat ever was or ever will be. But just think of it in terms of getting a balance of the other healthy oils as well. And the other healthy oils are found in the likes of avocados, fatty fish, olive oil, that kind of thing. Okay, hope that helps clear it up a little bit. The other thing that the Paleo Primer, because of its paleo nature, is very anti-grains. And I believe, well, grains and legumes really. So I believe that there is a lot of benefit to be had by having things like lentils, chickpeas, that kind of thing in the diet. And, according to the Paleo Primer, they'd all be stripped out. Now, this is very much a personal thing. You'll see I've advertised recently mused the idea of doing a seminar on the menopause, and there's a lot of evidence that some of the legumes such as chickpeas, lentils, that kind of thing, is very beneficial when we're going into menopausal years, but also to balance female hormones generally. If they do cause you digestive discomfort, and they do in some people, then they want to be avoided. One of the primary concerns health-wise is the state of our gut. So if you eat chickpeas and then you're doubled up with cramps and flatulence and the likes afterwards, it's not something you want to be eating, because it's going to irritate the gut lining. It's going to mean, if your gut lining is irritated permanently, it's going to mean, as well as you being in a lot of pain, you are not absorbing the vitamins and minerals from your food. So if you don't have a sensitivity or an issue with foods like that, then include them in your diet. Then we move on to things like wheat and gluten, and a lot of people claim to be gluten sensitive these days. My only suggestion here, and the best one I can make, is try cutting gluten out of your diet for a couple of weeks. So try cutting out your breads, your pasta, or anything that's got wheat in it, and see how you feel. Some people will feel better on it, some won't. And if you don't feel better on it and you don't have any digestive complaints, then I wouldn't suggest that you necessarily need to cut it from your diet if it's something that you enjoy eating. So again, a bit more of a sensible approach, kind of a words in today, than just saying eliminate it and it's bad for everybody. I don't necessarily think it is. But do bear in mind, with all of those types of foods, your grains and your legumes, that they are largely a source of carbohydrate. And what the Paleo Primer is trying to tell you, and it's a very good message, is that a lot of us have far too much carbohydrate in our diet that we're simply not using up. We're not physically active enough, we're not shifting our backsides enough to use it, and when we have excess carbohydrate in the diet, we will store it as fat. It's also saying that there are a lot more healthy alternatives to getting our carbohydrates than the likes of bread and pasta. Bread and pasta will give us relatively few vitamins and minerals per serving, whereas a lot of the vegetables we can eat that also contain carbohydrate will give us an abundance of health at the same time. So I would always advocate taking your carbohydrates in a vegetable form if you can, but including grains and legumes in that is not a problem, provided you don't have a digestive discomfort or an irritation or a sensitivity to them. So I think those are the main things really, the only differences. The rest of it I completely in line with. And that, in terms of changes that means for you, one of the biggest changes I see that people need to start making is looking at the amount of protein they have in their diet at each meal. So in an ideal world, you want to be making sure you are eating protein at every meal, because it boosts your metabolism. It's needed for 1,000,001 functions in our body. We think of it largely as building muscle, but we need it for our hair, our skin, our immune system, our hormone production. We need it for so many things. If we don't get enough protein in the diet, it's not just that, yes, our metabolic rate will slow down a bit and we may put on more weight, but also our health suffers as a result. So make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. And that's your usual eggs, meat, chicken, poultry, chicken, poultry, the same thing, fish, vegetarian sources, again, lentils, chickpeas, legumes, beans, all that kind of stuff. So ensure you're getting enough protein. And the other thing that a lot of us don't get enough of are veggies and salad. Okay, so you may have seen recently, I've been banging on about this for years, but relatively recently, there's been an announcement, I can't remember who it was from now even, that actually 5 servings a day of these is not really going to cut it in terms of our health. It's more likely 10, which I've been saying for quite some time now. So when you're looking at your plate, to give you an idea of portion control, you should fill up roughly half of your plate with an abundance of vegetables and stick some protein in there before you think about anything else. Those are your 2 main components. And I don't just mean an entire half plate of broccoli. The more variation you can include in that vegetable, so maybe a bit of broccoli, a bit of carrots, some aubergines, some red peppers, so you're getting a mixture of colours. Each of those colours represents a different antioxidant, a different enzyme, with coenzyme, a different mineral. So by mixing and matching those vegetables, you're eating different elements of health. That's effectively what you're doing by including them on your plate. A good portion of protein, and then obviously your carbohydrate or your fat is then dependent on, how much you've exercised. So if you're very physically active, you've got a job where you're needing a lot of energy, then you'll need more of a starchy vegetable in there, maybe some sweet potato or something similar. And you'll need, a thumbful of fat, so a couple of nuts, or you might have a bit of butter on your sweet potato, for example, that kind of thing. If you're very sedentary and you're really not requiring much energy at all, then you want to bulk up with those other veggies, the types of things I just mentioned, the courgettes, the peppers, the aubergines, the broccoli, the kale, the cabbage, the cauliflower. All of those vegetables are what you want to get your carbohydrate source from, so it's not too starchy. And again, put some butter there, butter over your veggies, or butter on your steak, or whatever it is that you're wanting. So it's the main things you want to be looking at probably to start with are increasing your protein, trying to get some in every meal, and increasing your veggie uptake. And remember what I've said before to most of you, and I think in the message originally, the book and what I've just said is creating your ideal. If you don't feel ready to jump to that ideal at this point, for goodness sake, don't. You'll hang on in there for a week or two, and then you'll go back to the way things were. If right now you're only getting protein 1 meal a day, try and get it in at 2. So if your only protein source is your dinner at night, look at your lunch and think, how can I get some protein into my lunch? Don't worry about your breakfast for now. Think about that in a few weeks' time when you're ready. Or if you're looking at your plate, your lunch at the moment, and it's a sandwich, think, okay, how can I get some extra veggies in this? Because at the moment I don't get many. To begin with, try chucking some cherry tomatoes in with your sandwich, so have some of those as well. Or an extra portion of veg in the evening to make, instead of having 1, make it 2. So whatever you do it at a pace that's right for you. It's exactly the same as the exercise classes. Just because you've got someone going hell for leather next to you does not mean that's the right pace for you. If you enjoy the changes you're making and you want to convert straight away, you start to feel the benefit of the increased energy levels, you start to feel that your tongue feels better because your digestion's improved, you feel healthier in yourself, you've got more energy, then make all the changes you want. But don't feel that you have to make changes before you're ready to. I've seen again and again and again where if ladies take the changes at the pace that they are ready to, those changes will stick and they will continue to make those changes a lot further down the line from now. Always, always, always ask yourself, can I see myself eating this way in a year from now? If you can't and you hate it and you're not enjoying it, change it so that you can see yourself doing that in a year. And you may not make the progress quite as quickly, but you'll keep it and you'll build upon it and you'll get to your goal a lot better than going hell for leather, falling off the wagon, as we call it, back on, back off, back on, back off. We don't want you to be on a wagon in the first place. I cannot make that clear enough. This is a change, a tweak of behaviors as you go through the program. This is just you for the rest of your life. It's not a diet that you're on. I want you to get that out of your head. This is you deciding to take control of your life and giving yourself some nutrition and some health through your food, because you deserve to feel better than you do right now. Okay. And every day when you're making your choices, think about that. You're empowering yourself to feel better about yourself, and you have the control to do that through the food that you eat and the food that you choose to give to your body. Okay, so don't make any changes you don't feel comfortable with. Take it at a pace that's good for you. Right, that's enough for me because I'll bore you senseless, and it really is not my plan. You'll get some more videos from us as we go through the week. You'll get plenty, but I hope that set you up for deciding what changes you're going to make to your diet. Hope you enjoyed the exercise sessions today, and enjoy the one that you've got to come this evening if you're coming along tonight. And I'll see you all soon.